On today's show, we're on Chequamegon Bay, which is a big bay in northern Wisconsin. It comes off of Lake Superior, and I tell you what, there's a lot of places that we travel to fish for smallmouth bass. You know, there's great bass fishing on the Missouri River, the Mississippi River, northeastern South Dakota, Spirit Lake, Iowa. I mean, there's all kinds of great bass fishing in this world. But if I had to pick one area, the best areas around as far as just catching big bass, you know, fish that average over 4 or 5 pounds, this would be it. We're fishing with a gentleman by the name of Roger LaPenter. Roger, along with his wife, own and operate a bait shop here in Ashland, Wisconsin. And the neat thing about Roger is that he's been fishing this lake for 30 plus years. He really pioneered a lot of the bass fishing that's on this lake. But the other thing that Roger did about 20 years ago is he really fought and pushed for regulations that made this Chequamegon Bay a trophy bass fishery. But I bet there were times where Roger wasn't popular back then, but this body of water is sure as popular now because of those regulations, because the trophy fish that live here.
He's coming right at me again.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well,
He's
you're gonna need a hand. The fish is waking up now.
yeah, he's just a medium-sized fish.
Oh yeah. There we go. There.
It's nice to see these different year classes
It
anyway,
is.
isn't it?
It is. Yeah, I agree. You know, tell you what, most places that's a nice bass.
Yeah, that would be a good fish in most waters.
You know, what's interesting about this though, you know, we are on the Great Lakes, but there's a lot of currents out here. There's basically a Great Lakes version of a tide, but you really got to be flexible and versatile and really pay attention to the water. You're always looking for clean water. You're always looking for, you know, warmer water temperatures. Why don't you describe just some of the things that you're looking for, maybe some of the things to avoid when you're fishing these big bays?
Well, dirty water is one of them. They don't like the dirty water. The edges of the dirty water are really good. Like you were talking, the seiches here are just something that most people don't experience, you know, just because it's a big body of water. So you have to find out which movement the fish are actually feeding on. And it seems like just in general principle, you always want to fish the outgoing tide or the tide that's heading toward the big lake. Mm-hmm. That's when they usually are feeding. And then you move when the tide's coming in. You can change locations at that point. That's a real key factor. The other thing are the other weeds. You're just looking for the edges of the weeds too. The deep weeds. The shallow weeds are shallow weeds. They don't usually hold a lot of fish. But the deep weeds all hold fish. And I'm talking deep is usually 12 to 30 foot of water.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, that's maybe something to touch on too, is that, you know, we got wind directions that are changing all the time. Wind can be a big factor on this bay as far as pushing cold water in, mudding up the water. So a lot of times you might have a spot where you caught them the day before and you get there and its conditions are completely different. You pretty much have to spend a big part of the day just adapting to the new conditions each day, don't you?
Yeah, very, very true. You know, wind directions are a key factor out here. Anything that's coming out of the north and off the big lake is actually pushing warm water in for us. And it turns the lake right over and sends that cold water back out. The south winds pull all the cold water in. Just the opposite of what you'd think. Mm-hmm. But it's something to consider when you're fishing out here. We're at a time of year where the water temperatures are a little cool.
Because of changing wind velocities and currents, finding smallmouth bass on this body of water often becomes a search each day. Conditions are changing constantly, and locations often change from day to day.
That was cool, wasn't it?
Little tail walker.
Getting reeled in here.
Oh, there he goes.
Wow. That is a dandy.
I love it when they jump.
Oh, isn't that?
It's probably the best part of them. They're
absolutely
so acrobatic.
Yeah, that's a big smallmouth.
Come on, get your head up. Just when you think they're getting weak, they get another burst of energy.
Yeah.
They don't ever slow up.
You can kind of see all the logs and stuff down there too, but you know, one time this area was just a big timber
Yeah, the whole
industry,
bay
and
is just all
tell you what, a lot
mills.
of the iron ore industry, the timber industry that used to be really predominant here.
I can't see him, can you?
I can't yet either. He'll come around.
See if I can get him out away from the boat.
Oh,
There, we get his head up. There you go.
Wow, nice job, Roger.
Good looking one.
Wow. Yeah, just beautiful fish.
You
clean
notice these
fins.
fish don't have any holes in them.
Yeah, they're just
These haven't been caught before.
beautiful, clean fish. Wow. Put that fish in the water.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Wow. But I think this is kind of neat, though, in the sense that a lot of the stuff that we're fishing is basically man-made in a way.
Absolutely,
And
it
you
all
just
is.
see, I mean, it'd be neat to just look at some of the old pictures and stuff. You were talking about how these used to be a sawmill back in the day, and when they got done, they just dumped all the boards and planks into the water, and
Created all this habitat.
now it's
yeah.
smallmouth bass habitat.
Yeah, it's
That's a
been very fortunate.
pretty neat story in itself. But between the rock piles, the riprap, the remnants of the iron ore industry, the remnants of the logging industry, a lot of this habitat's man-made.
Most of it is. Yeah, most of what we have that holds the fish in the bay, it's all man-made, one way or another.
On today's show, we are fishing Chequamegon Bay in late September. As water temperatures begin to cool in the fall, many shallow locations that feature sand mixed with boulders and wood often attract fish on sunny high sky days. As water temperatures plummet even further as fall progresses, a majority of the bass will slide out over deeper water and relate to deep rock piles and sharp breaking structure. Mid to early fall, however, offers anglers an opportunity to find these fish again using shallow water.
You know, spinner baits, you have to work fairly fast to make them work. And when the water cools off, especially when these temperatures drop as drastically as they have, the fish don't react as fast, so you need to go a little slower. That's why I go with these twister tails. You can make them go fast, you can make them go slow, you can stop them. Just let them lay on the bottom, sometimes they'll pick them up. And that's how slow the fish get, especially with the temperature changes.
Got him? Yeah, I got one too.
All right.
There we go. How big does yours feel?
It feels okay.
Well, I'll tell you what. We both have one on. It's every man for himself.
Mine got off.
Yours got off?
Mine got off.
I got a nice one here.
Yeah, that was a
Where
good
the
fish.
beast
I just
down.
didn't want to say it in case he got off. Oh, nice, nice
Yeah,
fish.
that's
Very good.
nothing wrong with that, is there?
Beautiful.
Yeah, you don't just crank these in, do you?
No, nice and easy. Yeah, you just work them almost like you're fishing for walleyes. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
That's,
Well, you're using light line.
yeah. And just take it easy. Yeah. I love it. They don't want to come in. There we go. Beautiful fish.
There we go. Thank you, Roger.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'll show you a little trick here that I kind of picked up from you, Roger. I'm going to show you a little secret here.
Okay.
Fishing this wood. But beautiful fish. Yeah, that's a dandy smallmouth. But basically, what Roger's doing out here, look how little of a jig that is. Look how that grub body is hooked up onto that jig. But you're just using these tiny little jigs on that grub body, hooking them through the nose, and that enables you to work through the wood a lot better.
Yep, you can
Yeah.
feel it bounce off the wood a lot of times. Yeah.
And obviously you can rig stuff weedless and stuff. I bet your batting average is probably a little bit better or something like
No
that.
question about it. No
Yeah,
question
that's just a
about
little neat little tip that,
it. I try and tell people fish as light as they possibly can.
yeah, well, that's
It makes a big difference.
in a lot of areas, that's kind of an unorthodox way to fish a grub body. And so it's always neat when you go to different areas like that and you kind of pick up different things that people are doing, and that's something that I'm sure will work
Anywhere.
anywhere.
Because of the amount of wood and rocks on these locations, Roger LaPenter prefers small 1/8 ounce and 1/16 ounce jigs. Grub bodies are nose hooked to make the presentation more snagless. These small hooks work best in conjunction with light monofilament line like 6-pound test. Anglers often experiment with different colors that include both bright colors that imitate baitfish and dark colors that imitate crayfish. Roger's overall favorite color on Chequamegon Bay is chartreuse and white.
The hardest part here is holding on the spots.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'll pick a couple fish up in the current. By the time you get in the boat, Scott, you're 30 yards away from where you hooked up.
Yeah,
It's warming
can
up
see that.
good. I think it's time to shed the vest.
typically too, when the sun gets high, these fish are a lot easier to fish, aren't they?
I think so. I always
See
like
a
the
lot
high
better.
sky better, yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, I think their visibility now is just so much better.
There's a fish.
All right. Get mine in.
Boy. Fish just keeps going and going and going. Another nice bass, Roger.
Beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, I think just the visibility too. Just how far you can see down in this water at times, that's part of the mystique of fishing this place.
Yeah.
You can, it's like fishing in a big aquarium.
Sometimes out in 20 foot of water you can see the bottom.
Yeah.
You'll watch those fish come up to take a bait and it's just
Yeah, and you can see fish following in the one you're reeling in.
just a hoot.
Come on. There we go. Thank you, sir.
There you go. You're welcome.
Boy, these are just beautiful fish. There aren't many places in the world where you can just catch this many smallmouth bass, this many nice bass. I mean, that's a respectable average size right there. Wow. Get that fish released here. There. They are fun. You know, we're just using 6-pound monofilament, and I was using braid earlier. I started out with braid, and I wasn't getting bites. Roger popped a couple fish right away, and that was enough to convince me to switch over. So I've been using 6-pound mono, and I've been starting to get bites too. But I guess that's typical a lot of times in this clear water. Sometimes it doesn't matter, but there are times where it does, and so definitely something to experiment with.
On today's show, we're finding most of the fish in 3 to 10 feet of water. On larger flats and bars, we're letting the current or the wind push the boat across the spot as we fan cast through the location. With this finesse setup of using light jigs and light line, we work the jig back to the boat about halfway down in the water column, making sporadic contact with wood and rock.
Oh, look at there. Look at him, look at him. There's a big fish right next to it, Roger. See if you can catch him. See that?
Yeah, when we get them up.
Yeah, there's a big fish following it. I don't see him now. Oh, there he is. He's oh.
We'll work on some others. Let me get the net for you.
That is neat. That is
Good
neat.
to see more than one.
Yeah, when you. How often does that happen when you're fighting
All
one
the
and you
time,
flip
mostly.
in and is that common where you
Very
catch the fish
common.
that's following it?
You'll see 5 or 6 of them following it. They're waiting for him to puke up their lunch. Another one, he just picked it up. Just
Yeah. Nice work. Roger, when did you guys implement the slot limit? And
it was probably 22 years ago now.
and basically, you know, just describe what the slot limit is. What
Well, you're allowed one fish. It's got to be 22 inches or larger.
so basically that creates a trophy fishery.
You're right, exactly.
If you're trying to catch fish to eat, you don't want to come here and fish for smallmouths.
No, it's strictly for trophy fish.
Have you seen a lot of the attitudes change over the years as far as
No question about it. People have gotten so much better about
wow, that's
about putting fish back, and it doesn't matter whether it's smallmouth, largemouth, trout, salmon, anything. They're just getting better about it.
that is a huge fish there. Look at that. How long did it take? Look at that. Isn't that a beauty? Tell you what, people would drive a long ways to catch fish like that.
People do drive a
They
long
do.
way
I bet
to
you
come
see it
here
every
and
day.
catch 'em. Yeah.
But how long did it take for this fishery to really take off? So you fought, you spent a lot of time, you finally convinced the Wisconsin DNR to put some slot limits out here to protect this fishery. How long did it take to reap the results of it?
Well, it wasn't so reaping the results. The fishing was good, but we had small fish.
Yeah.
Our average fish, when we changed it, was only about 15 inches.
Okay.
So it took a good 7-8 years for it to build up to where your average fish was 18, 19 inches.
Yeah. Yeah.
They grow very slow here. You know.
How big do you see fish out here?
Well, a big smallmouth in the bay is 21 inches. I've seen them up to 23.
Yeah.
Today, Chequamegon Bay is regarded as one of the top smallmouth bass fisheries in the United States. This inlet on Lake Superior is approximately 12 miles long and up to 6 miles wide. This shallow bay offers a rich forage base that consists of smelt and shiners. As this bay is much shallower than nearby Lake Superior, this rich ecosystem is significantly warmer and offers endless habitat for smallmouth bass to thrive.
Good fish. Good fish. All right.
Oh, did he hit that slow?
All right, I'll grab the net here and come right down by you here.
He's right in the wood too. Come on out of there.
Boy, these fish have power, don't they?
They're so strong.
Yeah, that's
Just a treat.
They are. Wow, look at that. That's a dandy.
Find the clear water.
Yeah, absolutely.
The secret today. Find the clear water.
Jump right in the net.
Beautiful.
That's a tank. Wow, look at that. Pop them out there. Wow, look at
Isn't
that.
that a pretty fish?
Isn't that just a beauty? Nice work, Roger.
Located near the community of Ashland, Wisconsin on the southern shore of Lake Superior, this fishery is accessible to smaller fishing boats and offers good wind protection. Populations of smallmouth bass can be often found throughout the entire bay. The best strategy for fishing this bay is simply adjusting to changing wind directions and currents. Expect to spend time each day to find locations that offer good water visibility and stable or warming water temperatures. After finding the right looking water, locating active bass is often just a matter of targeting the structure in these areas that bass prefer. These locations often change from day to day. The best time to target bass in shallow water includes spring and early summer, along with mid-fall. Prime locations include isolated boulders, rock rubble, and wood that is scattered throughout the bay. Flat conditions often allow the angler an opportunity to physically see shallow structure. During the midsummer and late fall period, when a majority of these fish pull out of the shallow water, anglers often target bass over deeper boulders, shipping channels, and deep weed lines. With regulations in place, this fishery is managed as one of northern Wisconsin's premier trophy bass fisheries. Chequamegon Bay currently boasts one of Lake Superior's best smallmouth bass fisheries for numbers of respectable 18 to 21-inch fish, with larger fish always a possibility.
Well, the bay never disappoints, does it?
Not often.
No, and I tell you, we targeted shallow fish just because we enjoy fishing that way, but there's deep patterns. There's a lot of different ways you can catch these fish, but I tell you what, if you're looking for just to catch big bass, this is, like I touched on earlier, this is one of the best places around, and just an incredible opportunity to catch big brown fish.
To experience the fishery highlighted in today's show, use these helpful links to plan your trip.